Hello fashion lovers, welcome again to my YouTube channel. So today I'll be teaching you on how to draft this dress for a 5-year-old. So first of all, you get to mark out your starting line or your starting point, as you all know. Then from that my starting point, I'm going to be marking out 1 inches. This 1 inches is going to be serving as my fold for the upper part of this particular dress. Then from this particular dress, you know that this particular dress is an off-shoulder dress. So you take out like 3 inches because she's a baby. Take out like 3.5 inches and mark out your shoulder to waist. Shoulder to waist for the particular dress is about 10 inches. I'm going to be connecting the line just like you are seeing me doing. So next is I'm going to be marking out my bust measurement divided by 4. Whatever I have, I'm going to be marking it down and marking it again as an excess. So for instance, you have your bust measurement as 4 inches. You mark again an excess of 4 inches. So it's times 2 of your actual bust measurement. So whatever you have on your bust is what you're going to be marking on your waist. Okay? So you go ahead and cut out. So this pattern is going to be serving as my front pattern, and I'm going to be cutting the same thing for my back pattern. It is that easy. So if you follow this very well, you'll be able to sew this for an adult. So next, now I'm going to be marking out the lines where I'm going to be sewing the elastic threads through. So I'm marking out 0.5 inches on my fabric, like 0.5 inches till I get to the shoulder to waist measurement. So you are marking this line on the right side of your dress, not on the wrong side. On the right side, please mark on the right side, right? So I'm going to be connecting this 1/2 inch with my ruler, just as you're seeing me do, right? If you have a tailor chalk, it is better. Okay, so go ahead and mark as you're seeing me marking on my video. The next part of this dress is the down part of the dress. So I'm going to be ruling my starting point for this down part, and I'm going to be marking my round hip divided by 2. Add your ease, then also add at least 1/2 inch for the joining. So this part is supposed to be a free straight dress. So I'm going up by 10.5, which is my half length. Then I'll mark my gown length, and that's what I have there. I'm going to be cutting out just the way you're seeing me. So you remember that this particular dress, the lining is not supposed to be longer, right? It's not supposed to be the same length with the gathers. So I'm going to be removing 2.5 inches just the way you're seeing me do. Go ahead and remove like 2.5 inches. So next, I'm going to be marking out the layers, the length of my layer. For the first layer, I'm marking out 5 inches. The second layer, I'm marking out 6 inches. And the third layer on this particular lining is about 5, but plus my 2.5 inches, it's now 7.5 inches. As you can see, it's already 5. So plus my 2.5 inches is now 7.5. So whenever I mark on the other side, I'm going to be marking on this part of this dress, so I can have a straight line and easy for me to sew my gather. So I'm going ahead now to mark out the first layer of this dress. Remember, the first layer is 5 inches or 5.5. I am marking out 6.5 because of my folding, and I'm going to be cutting out. So the length of this dress is my hip measurement divided by 4, and I'm going to be cutting it 3 times. That is, for instance, this is 10, is 30. I'm going to be cutting. That's 10 divided times 3. That's 30. You can do it 40 if you want the gathers to be fuller. So for the second layer of this dress, I am marking out, remember it's 6 inches, I'm marking out 7.5 plus my M allowance, right? And the length is the same thing, or the wideness is the same thing. That's times 3 of your hip measurement. So you can go ahead and cut out. So for the last layer of this dress, I'm marking out 8.5. If you remember, the actual third layer, the actual length is about 7.5. So I added 1 inch so that I can have my allowance, like folding allowance. And I'm just going to cut out like this. So this is my first, second, and third layer of this dress. So I went ahead now to fold the hem, and I'm just going to gather this part like this until I get the actual length of my dress. So I'm going to be marking at the actual length that I need for this particular gather. So it's about 26, 27. So I was done gathering, and I'm pinning down what I gathered on the lining part of this dress, as you can see. So this is for the first layer. So the second layer, you're going to open the first layer and put it inside, like above a little bit, like it should be inside, so that it will cover the parts where I'm going to be sewing, right? Every layer is supposed to cover the next layer, and I hope you understand that. So everywhere I pin, that's what I'm going to be sewing through. So this is how it's supposed to look like. So this is for the third layer. The third layer is going to go up a little bit, so that the second layer can cover where I'm going to sew on. I hope you got that. So this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to be sewing all the way around, right? So this is a good time for you to subscribe to my channel. So next, I'm going to be folding the hem of my lining. So I was done sewing, and this is what it looks like. It looks so beautiful. So I'm cutting out the excess of the lining out. Remember that this dress is for a 5-year-old girl, right? So while you're joining the center back of this dress, you want to be mindful of every layer. Every layer must be sewn, right? You want to be mindful of it. Take your time, bring the end out, and be careful not to sew into the gather, right? I'm going to be sewing like half an inch. Then when I'm done sewing that half an inch, I'm going to be marking my center front. It is very important, so that it will be easy for you to sew the upper part of this dress. This is how the down part of this dress is looking. It's looking very beautiful. If you follow through every process, you can sew for an adult. So this is the thread I'm going to be using, and I reel my own. I can reel my own. You can also use the manual form by using your hand, and this is the only part where the thread is going to stay. That's on the short sew, right? Then the upper part of it is going to be the normal thread. So I'm going to sew on the lines, right? You can make your lines smaller if you want. So I'm going to sew on my line, and I'm done sewing, and this is what it looks like. So the side where the thread, not the elastic thread should be the wrong side, right? The side where your thread, your normal thread is sewing, should be the outer part. So I'm going to be joining the side seam with half an inch. I was done joining. I'm going to be bringing the side seams like this, so that I can actually get my center front. So this both side seams, I'm bringing them together so that I can get my center front. So I'm going to be notching my center front. So that center front is what I'm going to be joining with the center front of the skirt pattern. I hope you got that. Then again, I'm going to be notching again so it's clearer, my skirt pattern. You know, I notched before, so I'm just trying to notch again so it's very visible. So I open it out. Then I'm going to be opening my top to the wrong side, right? The wrong side, remember, is the side where the elastic is showing, not where the thread is showing. So I'm going to be placing my center front over the center front of my skirt pattern, and I'm going to be pinning all the way around. So don't get bothered if the skirt pattern area is bigger than the blouse area. It will just blend in, right? So now I'm going to be cutting out the ruffles and rolling out my starting points. For this particular ruffles, I want it to be very big, like full. So I used about 7 inches or 7.5 inches, and the length I used about 30. And I'm just going to be cutting out. So when I fold the ruffles, we're going to be having like 3.5 inches or thereabout. Okay, so next up is I'm going to be folding the wrong side, like the right side facing wrong side, like just the way you want to sew your band or your belt. So I'm sewing half inch and I'm going to be flipping it over. So that part where I join is going to lay as the center front, like center back, right? So I'm going to pass my 1 inch elastic into it carefully, right? Don't bother about the 1 inch. You can even use 0.5 inches to do this particular, right, placing of elastic. So go ahead and pass it till you get to the end. When you get to the end, you're going to be stitching it. So I'm done stitching and I'm going to be dragging the elastic. So I'll drag it to the extent where I know it's going to be comfortable and it's going to lay very well on the baby's body. So at this point, I'm trying to verify if it's okay for her, right? And it's going to be okay. I'm going to be pinning it to also still verify if it's going to be okay for her. So this is very okay for her. Then I'm going to be sewing that end like that. So I was done sewing and I'm going to be folding one end over the other end. So as you can see, I fold one end and I fold the other end and I'm going to sew at the edge and cut out the excess. So here what we do over here, you're going to be placing, starting from the side seam, you're going to be marking out 2 inches. That is the point where your ruffles is going to start from or lay flat on both sides. So I'm placing my ruffles over it like this, that point. It must be on the front side of this dress, right? And the top, that's where you're going to be stitching it over. Thanks for watching and have a lovely day. Bye.